Please do swear or affirm testimony about here to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you, sir. You can be seated. Can you say your name for the record, please?
Jonathan Eisenstadt.
Can you spell your name for the court report?
Sure. JONATHANEISENSTAT.
And how are you currently employed?
Currently, I wear a couple hats. I still perform autopsies at 2 medical examiner offices, Cobb County in Metro Atlanta and New York City, where I did my training. So I go there about once every month and a half or so to do cases. I also do autopsies for 2 Emory hospitals, St. Joseph's and Johns Creek. And then my other hat is doing consulting work as an expert witness in forensic pathology.
And so, let me see, did you work for GBI at some point?
I worked for GBI for a while, yes.
How long did you work for?
So I started as an associate medical examiner in 2006. In 2014, I became deputy chief, so second in command. And then in 2015, I became the chief medical examiner, which I stayed in until January of 2022, I believe.
Okay. And so the chief medical examiner, so you kind of oversee everybody who's performing the autopsies and so forth.
Right. I still did autopsies, but I basically ran the state death investigation.
And let me back up. If we can talk about your education, your educational background, you can tell the truth.
Sure. So after medical school, I actually started in surgery. Realized it was not the profession I wanted to stick with, so I transferred out of that after a year and a half and started general pathology training. That's if you go to the hospital, have surgery, anything taken out, that goes to the pathologist, look at it under the microscope, and at the tissue itself, make the diagnosis, let your doctor know, the doctor lets you know if it's cancer or something else. I did that for 3.5 years and then did a year of pediatric pathology, which is, again, the same thing as that hospital pathology, but now focusing on everything from fetuses up to around 18 years of age. After that, I did a year of forensic pathology training at the New York City Medical Examiner's Office and stayed on 1 more year and did forensic neuro and forensic cardiac pathology training, which is looking at brains, spinal cords, hearts, vessels, things of that sort.
Roughly how many autopsies have you performed in your career?
I'm somewhere between about 4,300 and 4,400 right now.
And of those that you performed, how many are on children?
Oh, well, during my fellowship in pediatric pathology, I don't remember the exact number, but it was probably somewhere around 100 autopsies on children. And then throughout my forensic career, Bless you. Throughout my forensic career, probably in the hundreds, because it's everything from children in like car accidents through quote-unquote SIDS, which is a different terminology now, and child abuse cases.
And of the times that you have performed an autopsy, have you had the occasion to testify to your findings in an autopsy?
I have.
Okay. Roughly how many times?
In the hundreds.
Okay. And so let me, I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. So I think you said something about pediatric, you have kind of training in pathology, kind of a wide, maybe not a wide range, but there's adult pathology and then there's kind of pediatric pathology. Is that correct?
Correct.
Can you talk more about your training in pediatric pathology?
Sure. So that was at New York University Hospital, so NYU. And children are not little adults. Their disease processes are different. The way they break down things can be different. And so that's why there's a whole subspecialty in that. So during that year, I did autopsies on, again, babies from fetuses. I think during that year, probably the oldest child was in the early teens. And then also any biopsies or surgeries that were performed, the diseases of childhood can be different than the diseases of adulthood. So during that whole year, any specimen that was taken out by a physician or a clinician, would come to us and we would look at it to make the diagnosis of what disease process, if it was a disease process, what it was.
And over your career, do you have kind of continual training or education in the field?
Yes. So, I go to national conferences. I keep up with my continuing medical education, which is required to maintain your medical license. I'm a member of a number of organizations, which I actually am on a committee that writes continuing education articles for other physicians and investigators.
And, well, let me just do this. John, at this point, I'm going to offer the witness as an expert in forensic pathology with a subspecialty training on pediatric pathology.
Mr. Greer, do you have voir dire or objections?
I have no objections, Your Honor.
He shall be so qualified.
So we're kind of throwing a lot of big words around, although I'm sure it can get a lot more complicated. So what is your role? So this is back in 2020, 2021. So you're the chief medical examiner for the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. I believe that's the Division of Forensic Sciences.
Correct.
So where are you kind of headquartered?
So the headquarters are in Metro Atlanta, in Decatur. And at the time, I believe we had two other offices. One was in Macon and the other in Cooler, which was a coastal Savannah office. I was headquartered in the Atlanta office, but I would travel, obviously, throughout the entire state, considering the fact there are 155 of the counties in the state where we did the death investigation for them. And so I'd be traveling quite a bit, but I was headquartered in Atlanta.
Okay. And so I think earlier you testified as chief medical examiner. You kind of oversee the medical examiner's office. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so other than administrative tasks, do you have any duties that are specific to certain types of cases or something like that?
Well, we would have a meeting every single day, both in the morning and in the afternoon, to discuss the cases that came in. And then we would also have meetings, and this was with all the offices, about difficult cases. And then just because of all those subspecialty training that I had in pediatrics, neuro, and cardiac, a number of the other physicians, the other medical examiners, would bring cases to me to review and give my opinions on.
And so did it come to your attention that an autopsy had been performed on a child named Carter Ambrose?
Yes.
Do you remember when that was?
I remember that it was in November of 2020 is when the case was performed. I have to be honest, I don't recall when I was first notified of the case.
Okay. But at some point, did your involvement increase in that particular case?
Yes.
Okay. And what was your involvement? What was the reason for that? Can you walk the jury through?
Sure. So the general approach to a child death is just like any other case. We have to look to see if there's traumatic injuries, if there's natural disease, is there something that predisposes the child to something, and then obviously since the child usually does not have the ability to, or may not want to convey whatever may or may not have happened, we have to look at the case and see if it fits with a specific story. And so this was a child with a fairly isolated injury. And I say injury again in a general term. What caused the liver to be injured? Was it an inflicted injury? Was it an accidental injury? Could there have been an underlying natural disease that predisposed the child to bleeding or softening of the tissues? So, not as much force would be needed to cause the liver to be damaged. So Dr. Brown, did he just testify, I believe?
He did.
Okay, so Dr. Brown performed the autopsy, and at that time, every medical examiner office is extremely understaffed. So he was coming back and helping us do cases. And obviously, child death is I guess we would call it a high priority case. And so when I was notified about it, and it was an isolated injury, I wanted to review the case. And this is where the investigative side and the medicine side need to come together. And so I got involved because there were questions by law enforcement or the investigators, the coroner, and then eventually I called a meeting of all of us together so we could sit and go over the facts and the circumstances that the investigators were told, and if it fits with what we found at autopsy.
Okay, and so you guys had a meeting,
Yes.
and I believe it was Zoom or something, with a whole bunch of people.
Right, because we were all in so many different places. I believe Dr. Brown was either in Ohio or Pennsylvania, I can't remember. I was at headquarters, Perry, which is usually about a 2-hour drive. Today was a 3-hour drive because of just typical traffic. So it was just easier for all of us to do it in a Zoom. And the reason I wanted a Zoom is because I wanted to show pictures. Sometimes that's easier to understand what happened than just verbally.
Okay, and so you come in to look at this, and I think you said it was some people had some questions.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're okay. Go ahead.
Not uncommon in difficult cases and childhood cases.
Okay, and so you were called in to try to help answer those questions.
Yes, I had looked at the case already. It had not been finalized, meaning the autopsy obviously had been performed, but there's a lot of other studies that need to go into it. And I actually added some more work that I wanted to look at myself. And then when that was done, I called the meeting so we could all come together.
Okay, and what was that work that you did?
So I went back and put in, sometimes when we do an autopsy, we'll save some tissue in formaldehyde if it's that's a preservative, so it doesn't continue to denigrate in essence. And so I wanted to go back and put in more sections of the liver because when I say sections, those are tiny little pieces that get processed onto slides, and then we look under the microscope. And so I wanted to look at more of the liver to see if the liver was normal, meaning before the injury, if it was normal, and then also to look at what type of reaction was there to try and put it into a time frame, the injury.
So I think there's kind of two parts here, right? So I think maybe there's a kind of symptomology, and then this time frame portion that you looked at. Is that correct?
Well, the symptomatology would be the investigative side.
Okay.
There was no doubt that the child died because of a liver injury. Now comes the question of what was the underlying cause of that. And especially in cases where timing can become an issue, childhood deaths are very common with timing as issues, and then there's some others where we want to know how long the injury's been there. So for me to feel comfortable, I went back and I put in more sections. So that's the timing aspect.
Okay. Well, let's back up to the underlying issue aspect.
Sure.
So what all did you do to see if there was an underlying issue? Why would you look at an underlying issue and so forth?
Right. So anyone who knows anybody that, let's say, now I'm moving away from children for a second, just to give an example. Someone who is a chronic alcoholic and has liver cirrhosis. The liver is very important for blood clotting. And so if you know someone who has cirrhosis, if they fall, they can get a huge bruise. Whereas someone who doesn't will get the normal bruise that will go away after a week or so. So since this was a liver injury, and the liver led to bleeding, and that's essentially what caused the child's death, I wanted to make sure that the liver itself did not have any underlying cirrhosis, or a lot of genetic disorders affect the liver. And I sort of got off track from your question, I think. But we, just like in the hospital pathology, we look at the body, we look at the tissue, and then we look under the microscope. And each one of those can take us further and further into what a diagnosis may be. So the long and short of it is here, I looked at all the photos taken at autopsy, I looked at the slides that had already been taken, and then I went back and put in more slides. And I did not find any natural disease process that could account for the child's death, and I did not find any natural disease process that would predispose the liver to having an injury.
So the liver was healthy other than the injury?
Other than that, essentially everything was healthy. And you know, the child, if I remember correctly, had a history of asthma, and that's very important as well. And that we see that in the lungs, but in this child there was no evidence of an acute asthmatic attack.
Okay. And so, when you're looking at whether or not there's an underlying issue or disease, why is that important?
For predisposing factors. Again, if I were to fall and hit my head, I probably should not have bleeding over my brain. Whereas somebody who may have that cirrhosis or some underlying disorder, same exact fall, may predispose to bleeding. So with the child, I just wanted to make sure there was no genetic or molecular or basically any underlying natural disease that would predispose this child to dying.
And is that important in the context of the blunt force injury?
Absolutely.
Okay, why is that?
Well, I mean, some of these underlying disorders can predispose someone to bleeding. Some of them can make the tissues change and get softer, so can be damaged easier. And so here, the liver looked normal except for the area around the injury. And that was all due, the changes were all due to the injury. So I didn't find anything that would make this child susceptible.
Okay, is the liver easily damaged?
No, it takes a decent amount of force to cause a laceration of the liver. We see those in motor vehicle collisions, in significant blunt force injuries.
Okay. So then kind of the second part of this is, I think you talked about time frame.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. So, you know, for any of us who've had a bruise, going back to like sort of a simple comparison, we know the bruise can be like purple or red at first, and then over a few days it may turn to yellow, and then after the yellow it can go brown and go away. If I were to look under the microscope, I'd look for very specific cells to tell me how old that bruise is. Because I can't tell you how old the bruise is just looking at it. Even with the yellow change in color, I have to see a specific cell under the microscope to say, this is at least 3 days old or not. So it's the same as any other tissue, including the liver, right? Let's say you cut yourself. You're going to have that cut with the red around it from the bleeding. Then it may turn yellow a little bit. Then you get the scab. Then you can get a scar. The organs do the same thing in a healing process, in essence. So the only way to age the liver injury is to look under the microscope. And when I look under the microscope, I look for blood, and the blood cells will start normal, and then they'll degenerate. I look for inflammatory cells. There are different types of inflammatory cells that can help me age it. I look for these spindly cells that come in, and that's what ends up forming a scar. And then I look for that yellow, that cell that's called hemosiderin. It's a breakdown product of blood, and that shows up at around 3 days after an injury. And we use a very special stain called an iron stain because it contains iron. And if we see it, we know that injury's been there for about 3 days. If we don't see it, and then we can add in all the other inflammatory cells, we can get an age range to that injury.
Okay, and so when you looked at what you were looking at, and considering all these different things that you just explained to the jury, what did you see?
So I saw blood that was degenerating. I saw the liver tissue dying, which in the autopsy report is called necrosis. I saw inflammation. I stained it for iron. I didn't see any iron. Even before staining it with iron, I didn't see any of that yellow discoloration. I did not see any of those spindly cells coming in to try to heal it. So when I took all of that together, it told me that this injury occurred somewhere from 1 to 3 days prior to the time the child died. So the pronouncement of death.
Okay, so if you take the pronouncement of death, you have to go back full 24 hours. Is that correct?
Right, somewhere around 24 to 72 hours prior to the death.
Okay, so if you died Tuesday morning, you're going to have to back up, right? So Monday morning.
Right. So the injury would have occurred somewhere from Monday morning back to Saturday morning.
So obviously you're looking at internal things, you're looking at slides. Are there kind of external symptoms that can be present that someone may be experiencing that could indicate a laceration in the liver?
Well, I mean, there's bruising can help us identify where the impact occurred. And that's why I said I looked at the autopsy photos, which showed some bruising in the right upper quadrant, which is where the liver is beneath, as well as some on the head, but there was no internal head injury. So the bruises can sort of guide you to where the impact happened.
Would someone potentially be throwing up as a result of the injury?
Oh, those kind of symptoms, yes. So as a person, just think about anything going on in your intestines, right? The liver takes bile, condenses it into the gallbladder, which shoots it out into your intestines. The pancreas, which had some hemorrhage around it, has a whole bunch of enzymes that come out and help digest certain things. And so if you have an injury to any of that, nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, can be. Take away the abdominal pain, the nausea and vomiting are sort of non-specific. But again, nausea, vomiting, and abdominal pain would point us towards an abdominal injury. Or a natural process. But again, that's why we do a complete autopsy and we look under the microscope.
And so, you've given us this time frame, right? And you said that you reviewed kind of the case file. You guys had this meeting, you familiarized yourself with it. And you know, I mean, it's been deemed a homicide, right?
Correct.
With blunt force impact to the abdomen causing the lacerated liver. Do you guys look, and you've described a lot, but do you look at, so, I mean, it's a homicide, and I know that you referred to car wrecks earlier, stuff like that. Why isn't it an accident?
Sure. So, and I'm sorry if I'm repetitive, I don't know what Dr. Brown testified to, but we basically have 5 manners of death. Natural, which we ruled out through the autopsy. Suicide, I mean, this is not a suicide, that's an intentional self-inflicted injury. Accident, and I'll explain how we determined not accident and yes, homicide. Homicide, which means death at the hands of another individual. And then the last is undetermined. And undetermined is if we don't have enough evidence to go one way or the other. So here, this is part of the investigative process, is to get the information that the investigators have compiled. To lacerate a liver in an almost 3-year-old child, you have to have a very focused injury, very focused area of pressure. And externally on the skin, there were multiple bruises. It's not a single bruise, but multiple bruises in the area overlying where the liver is located. So that moves us along the route of more likely than not a homicide at that moment. Then you think about the mechanism. A child who's running like a toddler is running around, not usually, I don't think I've ever seen, would fall and lacerate their liver. They may fall and bruise their hands, or they may fall and skin their knee, or something to that effect. So from the autopsy, we already were at the point of more likely than not an inflicted injury. And then from the investigation, there was no story that was given to us that would comport with an accidental type of death. Nothing fell on the child that we were told of. Just nothing from the investigation pointed towards an accident.
And so, something, I mean, we discussed on the phone prior to your testimony, one of the things that we discussed was CPR, whether or not CPR would cause this type of injury.
Right.
Can you kind of elaborate as whether or not that can be true?
Sure. So CPR can cause injuries to internal organs. More often that's in an adult because our ribs are much firmer than in a child. So when you do CPR in a child, the ribs have a lot more cartilage still, so they're more flexible than in an adult. But when you do CPR, the heart is over the center and left of the chest. So you're doing CPR here. The liver's over here. The only times I've ever seen liver injury as a result of CPR is, and when I say adult, I'm talking about like in the teen ages all the way up, is when there's been aggressive CPR on an adult and you have rib fractures and because they press so hard, and then you can see the ribs are pushing down onto the liver. So that's part one. Part two, again, multiple marks that were round and circular in the right upper quadrant of the abdomen. I don't think I've ever seen that in CPR. Multiple round contusions or bruises overlying the liver. I've seen it over the chest because in a child sometimes, usually an infant, you want to do CPR with a few fingers, but that's here, that's not over here.
Let me ask you just one question. Do you charge for testifying?
I do. I mean, I charge for testifying in my consulting work.
Okay.
Here, since I don't work for the GBI anymore, I basically just ask for a little bit, so you have to take the whole day off.
Right, and so have you asked for that money?
I did.
How much is it?
$500.
Nothing further, right?
Mr. Grube, with you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Eisenstadt, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Jeff Crew. I'm a lawyer from Warner Robins representing Ms. Davis in this matter. Let me ask you a few questions. Get some of this out of the way. At the time that you were, November of 2020, you were the director of all of those that were in charge of performing autopsies in the state of Georgia. Is that right?
For the GBI, I was not in charge of it. So Fulton, Cobb, DeKalb, and Gwinnett have their own medical examiner offices.
Okay.
So I was not in charge of them.
But you were in charge of the office there on Panthersville Road in Decatur, and also the one in Pooler and the one in Macon. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
How many pathologists or forensic pathologists did you have under your employ?
So it varied over time, but somewhere, if I remember correctly, between like 11 and 15.
And is it your recollection that this autopsy was performed soon after the child died there in the Macon office by Dr. Brown? Is that correct?
That's correct.
I mean, you weren't there for the autopsy itself.
I was not.
And I take it at some point in time you became involved in this case because would it be a fair statement to say originally that it was undetermined as to the manner of death?
I don't think it was ever undetermined, and I think we may be saying the same thing, but I use a little different terminology. If we were to say undetermined, that would be on a death certificate. To me, it was still in the investigative process, so we had not come to a final conclusion yet.
All right. And of course, you had talked about where sometimes if there were a problem autopsy or a problem with determining the death of someone, that you would meet with you would have a meeting of some sort.
Well, every case we get initial investigative information. If there are questions, law enforcement may reach out to us or we may reach out to them. So yes, there are times where we would either meet with the coroner, sheriff, district attorney, law enforcement.
All right. And in this particular case, once again, there was a meeting of some sort between your office and the district attorney's office for Houston County and the sheriff's department. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And that was several months after the death of the child.
Yes, sir.
Do you recall when that meeting was? Was it September?
I honestly have no idea.
But nonetheless, you conducted a Zoom meeting, and the audio tape of that meeting was provided to defense counsel. Are you aware of that?
I assumed it was because it was provided to me. So,
All right.
yeah.
And it was about a 30-minute meeting. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. And, during this meeting, with you being the director, you were in charge of the meeting. Is that a fair statement?
That's fair.
And Dr. Brown participated in this meeting. Is that right?
That's correct.
As well as other forensic pathologists in your office. Is that correct?
So you're probably thinking of Elizabeth Andrews. She's not a forensic pathologist. She is, at the time, I don't think she's with the GBI anymore. At the time, she was, we have a unit called CAISC, C-A-I-S-C. It's a Child Abuse Investigative Support Center. And she was an investigator in that group. So basically, she was out, the GBI medical examiner's investigator for childhood deaths.
All right. Yeah. But anyway, she was part of this meeting, and I take it that our current district attorney, Eric Edwards, was part of that meeting. He was an assistant DA at that time. Are you familiar with Mr. Edwards?
I am. From that time, I didn't know he had changed positions.
But at some point in time, the decision was made, was it not, that the autopsy report should be completed and that it should be determined to be a blunt force trauma. Is that right?
Correct. I think the blunt force trauma was already determined. It was the manner of death that we were.
The manner of death.
Yeah, the manner of death is what we were really discussing.
Okay, and that could have been, you say that could have either been a homicide or that could even be undetermined or not.
It could.
And it's my understanding from listening to this audio of your Zoom meeting that the decision was made that Dr. Brown would sign off on the autopsy report. Is that right?
Yes, he's the one who performed it, so he would sign off on it.
Okay, and that as a matter of course, you yourself would do the peer review. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you signed off on that immediately as well. Is that correct? Or you did the peer review and then he signed off on the report?
No, it's the, actually, that's a good question. I don't remember the process. Usually it's signed off already, and then, no, we do the peer review first and then it's signed off.
All right. And then at that particular point in time, once the autopsy report is done, then that is that typically submitted to the coroner of the county?
So it goes into our system, and the coroner is usually gets a copy, and then anybody else can request a copy.
All right. But the coroner wouldn't sign off on an autopsy report until it's been signed off on, of course, by Dr. Brown.
Oh, I see what you're asking. The coroner does not sign off on an autopsy report. The coroner, in the state of Georgia, the coroner will sign the death certificate, but they do not sign off on the autopsy report itself.
Okay. Just a second, Charlie. And once again, as far as do you recall when you became involved in doing the additional testing on this case?
Unfortunately, since I'm not at the GBI, I don't have access to the system, so I do not recall when I actually would have done that. I know we're not supposed to give assumptions or guesses, but usually it takes a number of months anyways for an autopsy to be finalized, the report. So I'm sure it was probably at least 3 or 4 months before I even got to, involved and took more sections. But I do not recall when I did that.
What are some of the other factors that you look at before? Well, let me ask it this way: are toxicology reports necessary?
In most cases, yes, not in all.
Okay, and if the toxicology reports are completed within a month or so, that sort of should speed up the process of completing an autopsy report.
It depends on the case. So if it's a case where toxicology is really the deciding factor of is it a drug overdose or not, or were there drugs in the system or not, then it may speed it up. But I can tell you that I've worked in many offices. There are toxicology reports that come out, and the autopsy is still not signed out for a number of months.
Okay. And as far as you mentioned to us before that you anticipated that the whatever injury sustained by the child was 24 to 72 hours prior. Is that correct?
Yes, prior to the time the child was pronounced dead.
Okay. Could it have been more than 72 hours?
Well, we don't have that yellow discoloration, the hemosiderin, and that becomes apparent at around 72 hours. And there's no, what we call macrophages, which are those chronic inflammatory cells. So to me, maybe 73 hours, but nothing dramatic.
Could it have been, instead of 72 hours, could it have been 24 hours before then?
I don't believe so. I don't believe we have the cellular changes that would have taken it out another 24 hours.
Okay. And as far as you say it was between 24 and 72 hours, could it have been sooner than 24 hours?
So,
In other words, could the injuries have occurred within 6 hours of the child dying?
right, no, I understand. And I don't believe so because, again, of the cellular changes. And there are actually articles within the forensic pathology, actually hospital pathology literature as well, that dates the changes or dates the injuries via the changes under the microscope. And I actually pulled out one of those articles again when I was reviewing this case back years ago at the GBI, and the cellular changes are between that 24 and 72 hours.
And that's a determination that you made and not Dr. Brown.
I know I made that. I don't know if Dr. Brown made that or not.
Just a second, John. That's all I have, Your Honor. Thank
Just briefly, Judge, if I may. And so again, this meeting, you kind of reviewed everything. You guys had toxicology reports at this point, didn't you?
Oh, everything, yes.
Okay. Did that influence at all your decision as far as the timing of the death, or I mean, was there anything in the toxicology?
I don't believe so. I haven't looked at the toxicology in a while, but the toxicology, obviously with it not being in the cause of death or even the contributing cause of death, it played no role. If it was positive, it played no role.
Now, this is a lacerated liver injury, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What kind of pain would one experience with that?
That's why it would be very painful, and it's because the cover, anyone who's had like a ruptured appendix or has had an appendicitis or like diverticulitis, the reason they go to the doctor is because they're uncomfortable or in pain, and the pain is because you get stretching of the outer surface of it. So the liver has the same covering on the outer surface, and so when you cut that, it's painful, and that fits with the stories that we were told that the child had been complaining of belly pain. I believe it was for a few days.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Anything else?
Nothing else. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
You're free to go.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've been at it a couple hours. We're going to take a short break. Don't talk about the case. Don't let anybody talk about it with you. If you need to go downstairs, let the bailiff know, and they'll take you to the snack bar, point the smokers out, and let's try to stay to about 15 minutes, okay? Thank you. Y'all may go, Mr. Roberts. Alright, we're going to take 15 minutes. I think the juror had some concern. He was telling the bailiff, but I couldn't hear quite what, so we'll address whatever that is when we reconvene. Okay?
Thank you.
15 minutes. Before we bring the jury in, Bob, what was he complaining about?
A little light on the thing, we fixed it.
We adjusted it. Apparently the light on the Elmo was not in his eyes or something.
Okay. All right. You can bring him in.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, come on in.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're ready to resume. Mr. Dwayne or Ms. Holland, you can call your next witness.
Your Honor, the state called Charlotte Tharp.
All right, you have to start, please.
Good morning, Ms. Tharp. If you would, raise your right hand for me. Do you swear affirm testimony you shall give here before this court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Stark, before you start, pull that microphone that's flat in front of you so it's in front of you. You don't have to lean over, but there you go. And you can speak up for me, okay?
If you would, Ms. Tharp, state your name for the record, please.
Sure, Bob.
And would you spell your name for the record, please?
SHIRLYTHARPE.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Stark, you're going to have to speak up. You're real soft-spoken, okay? Nice and loud for me.
And if you do need to lean over the mic, that's fine too. All right, Ms. Tharp, what do you do for work?
I babysit kids.
Do you do that in your home?
Yes.
Do you have your own daycare business?
No,
But you take care of kids in your home?
I do.
And back in 2020, did you take care of a little boy named Carter Ambrose?
Yes.
How long have you taken care of Carter Ambrose?
From 9 months until his death.
So let me talk to you about that. Ms. Tharp, you kept him since he was 9 months old until his death.
Yes.
Did you keep him the day of his death?
No.
Did you keep him the day before his death?
No.
Let me back you up a little bit further. Did you keep him the week before his death?
I had him that Friday.
Did you notice anything was wrong with him on that Friday?
No.
When you kept him on that Friday, what was he doing that day?
Simply playing with he had started playing with the other kids. If he had his tablet, he was on his tablet or watching TV. Pretty much, he was alone. He was mostly to himself.
You said he was a little bit of a loner.
Uh-huh.
Did he have a nickname or anything?
His nickname with me, I called him David Carter.
Did y'all have a nickname for him named Eeyore or anything like that?
No.
You called him Baby Carter.
Yes.
Did Baby Carter, while you kept him, have any kind of breathing issues that you remember?
I have gave him breathing treatments before.
Did you give him a breathing treatment on that Friday that you kept him?
No.
Did you keep him all day on Friday?
I did.
Did you notice anything out of the ordinary with him on that Friday?
No.
Who picked him up on that Friday?
His mother,
And who's his mother?
Kianna Davis.
Is she in the courtroom?
Yes.
Can you point her out and tell me what she's wearing?
She's here with a white sweater on, hair on the bun, wearing glasses.
Let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
It will so reflect.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you did not keep him the Monday after.
No.
Why did you not keep him that Monday?
He didn't show up.
So no one brought him to your house?
No.
What would usually happen if a child didn't show up for daycare?
Well, the first day I didn't call, the second day automatically going to give her a call and text. I think I texted her and asked her. I was just checking on Baby Carter. She responded, please pray. He's unresponsive to the hospital. I asked her, do you need me to come? She said, no, his dad's here. Probably 3-4 minutes, I got a text back saying he didn't make it.
Did you keep in contact with Kianna after that?
Yes,
Did you attend Baby Carter's viewing?
I did.
If you don't please answer the relevance in this.
I established that she kept contact with Kianna after that.
Is there, let me see counsel up here.
Let me ask you again, Ms. Starr, you went to Baby Carter's viewing.
I did.
Did you see Kianna at the viewing?
I did.
Did she say anything to you that day?
Yes, when I walked in, she came and gave me a hug. I had a T-shirt made in his honor, a mask made in his honor, and a pillow made, and I presented that to the mother and the father.
What did she do when you did that?
She, like I said, she gave me a hug, and she told me and my 2 daughters and my sister and 2 of my grandkids was with me. She took us to the room, or she pointed to because she never did go in while I was there. Where the body was.
She never went into the room where Baby Carter's body was out
No,
while you were there at the viewing.
no.
Thank you, ma'am.
And Judge, I don't understand the relevance of that.
Objections overruled. Go ahead.
Did she say anything else to you while at the viewing?
She said that she wants to remember him like he was.
Ms. Tharp, if I were to show you a picture of baby Carter, would you be able to identify him?
I sure will.
We have no objections to the photograph, no?
All right.
May I approach him?
Ma'am.
Let the record reflect, I'm showing the witness what has been marked in State's Exhibit 12. Ms. Tharp, what is this a picture of?
Baby Carter.
Is that how you remember it?
Yes.
And is this photo a fair and accurate depiction of what baby Carter looked like?
Yes.
Has been changed or altered in any way?
No.
Your Honor, at this time, the State will tender into evidence State's Exhibit 12.
Objection.
It's admitted.
So, Ms. Tharp, that's baby Carter.
That's baby Carter.
Ms. Tharp, while you were at the viewing, did Kianna say anything about he's in heaven now?
She said that when I want to say either it was the same day that he passed, I was crying, she was crying, and then she stopped and said, he's in heaven. So that was the same day he passed that she said that.
Do you know if baby Carter was buried after the viewing or cremated?
He was cremated.
Did you think there was something odd about that?
If you don't, please.
Objection sustained.
Did you continue to keep in contact with Kianna after that?
I did.
Did she ever say anything to you about a detective on the case?
She said that the boyfriend was never questioned, and she also told me that she said that she asked me my address and said her attorney would get in touch with me, but I never heard anything back from her about that situation.
Did she ever tell you that the original detective was no longer on the case?
Yes.
What did she say when she told you that?
At one point, she said she was coming down here to get his autopsy report, and she's supposed to be coming by my house afterwards. And she stayed, I waited 2 or 3 days, and I texted back and asked her what happened to her. And she said that they was trying to railroad her, pin it on her or something to that state.
Did she ever brag to you about the original detective no longer being on the case?
Yes,
What did she say when she said that?
that he was, that he's no longer on the case, and pretty much that her aunt had gave her the money to get a lawyer because they kept questioning about it. And I guess after you get an attorney, you don't have to talk to her.
Ms. Tharp, I've got a few more questions for you about the Friday with the cat Carter.
Okay?
Leah asked you earlier if he had any kind of breathing problems that day. Did he? You didn't have to give him breathing treatment?
No.
Did you notice if he had fallen or anything while he was playing with the other kids?
No.
And in your experience keeping him seemed pretty normal that day?
No.
Didn't look like he had fallen.
No.
But then come Monday, he's not at daycare that day.
No.
And come Tuesday, he's not at daycare that day.
No.
Nothing further at this time, Judge.
Mr. Greer?
Just a few questions, John, thank you. Ms. Tharp, good morning.
Morning.
Ms. Tharp, my name is Jeff Greer, I'm a lawyer from Warner Robins.
Okay.
Here representing Ms. Davis. You say you testified that you babysit kids, is that right?
Yes.
Where at?
Then it was at my house at 42 Mirror Lane.
Okay, where do you do that now?
That 109 Granville Way.
109
Granville Way.
Randall Lake, okay. But at the time, you kept, you said you called him Baby Carter.
I did.
You kept him from 9 months until he passed, is that right?
That's right.
And this is on Mary Lane, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Would you keep him 5 days a week or 4 days a week? Or?
Usually I did. Sometimes the dad would, if he was off, he would have him. Sometimes Kianna, if he had a doctor's appointment, sometimes he got sick and she had to come pick him up.
Yeah, I mean, Baby Carter was a sickly child, was he not?
He had, sometimes he had breathing problems, but
Right.
not that often.
Right. But before you kept him, but you were made aware, were you not, that he was in the hospital within a few days of him being born?
I never know that.
Never knew that. But he would go to the doctor quite a bit for his breathing problems and other things. Is that right?
For his breathing.
Right, for his breathing. Whenever you did breathing treatments on him at your house, were there any sort of machines that they left with you?
She would bring it.
Huh?
She would bring it.
Every day?
No.
All right. Now, you say you would babysit these Baby Carter at your house there on Mary Lane, is that right?
That's right.
Mary Lane's not too far from where Shirley Hills Elementary School is it?
The walk right there.
Walk right there. How many, at that time, how many children would you keep?
Probably like 4.
4. Did you have a license through the city to do that?
At that time I did. No.
You did at that time? And how old would be the children that you would keep there?
They was 2 and 3.
2 and 3 years old?
Well, I think Baby Carter was younger than him.
Yeah.
He's talking
Would
about.
any of the children ever spend the night?
Repeat?
Would any of the children ever spend the night with you?
No, not beside my grands.
Pardon me?
No beside my grandkids.
Or you would have grandkids there too at the same time?
Well, I had a grandson who was named Carter too. That's how Baby Carter became Baby Carter, because I had my own
Okay.
grandson.
How old was your Carter?
He's 15 now, so he was 10.
He was 10. Okay. And during the daytime, I mean, what time would Baby Carter be dropped off at your place?
Between 7:30 and 8.
7:30 and 8? And what time would you be picked up every day?
Usually around 5:30, between 5 and 5:30.
Okay. Now, there towards the end of Baby Carter's life, are you aware with where Miss Davis was working at?
She's working in Millersville.
Okay. Was she also working in Warner Robinson?
When I got Baby Carter, I think she was working in Macon.
She was a school teacher, wasn't she? She worked for the college, and she would go to different schools. Is that right?
Well, I don't know about going to, I just knew she was working in Macon, and then at the end, she was working in Millersville.
All right. Do you know what kind of work she was doing?
I didn't.
You didn't know?
I didn't know she was the school teacher until she actually moved to Atlanta.
Okay, but when she moved to Atlanta, this was after Baby Carter died, is when she moved to Atlanta, is that
That's
right?
correct.
And she was a school teacher up there.
Yes.
Judge, I'm going to object at this point. What's the relevance of this?
I think we've hit the limit of relevance, so the objection is sustained.
All right, Ms. Clark, let me ask you this. You stayed in touch. Well, let me ask you this. On the Friday, the last day that you kept Baby Carter at your place, do you know how many other children you had there that day?
Or
Four.
3 with him.
Pardon me?
4 altogether.
All right. And you say you don't remember anything about any falls or him being hurt or anything like that?
No, because Baby Carter was alone. He would get a ball and he'd sit to himself. Probably in the last few months that I had, he'd start playing with other kids, but no.
Okay.
He would get whatever toy he got, and that's what he did.
If he was uncomfortable or tired or sleepy or something, would he tell you that he was?
He would actually come get in my lap.
Okay. But he was in diapers, wasn't he?
He
Or
was.
pull-ups.
Yes,
Did you have the occasion to change him throughout the day?
daily.
Okay. During the last couple of days that you kept, did you notice anything about? Did he have any bruises on him or scars or anything like that?
No,
No scabs or anything like that?
no.
Did you ever notice as to whether or not? I'm sure that he had different bowel movements.
Yes,
Did you notice anything bloody in any of his bowel movements?
no.
Did he ever? Do you know if he ever threw up anything or vomited any food?
No.
All right. Ms. Stark, when you were there taking care of Baby Carter and these other children, were you the only adult there? I mean, did you have other adults there?
No. Well, not adults, but at the time that, right before his passing, there was the pandemic, so I had my 10-year-old grandson, and Kennedy should have been by 6, but also she was just had been, she may have been 3. She just been diagnosed with,
Who are you talking about?
I'm talking about my granddaughter.
Your granddaughter.
Yes. She just got been diagnosed with being diabetic.
Yeah, not bad.
And when I talked to Kianna, maybe the next day, and I was telling her, at this time she had been sent to the emergency room, and she was in intensive care in Macon. And when I talked to Kianna, probably the next day, I'm telling her what was going on with
When was this?
Kennedy.
When
The
was
next
this?
day after he passed.
All right.
The next day after he passed.
Okay. During this this period of time that you kept the baby, did you have a good relationship with Miss Davis?
I did.
Okay. Would you agree with me, ma'am, that people grieve in different ways?
Sure.
I mean, you grieve different from the next person that's they're saying?
We all do. So yes.
And when Baby Carter was, after he passed, they had a viewing or some sort of service for him over at Nelson Memorial.
No.
Where they have it?
Was it McCullen?
Well, you tell me where it was at.
It was definitely one Nelson. It was either McCullen or what's the other one? I want to say it's McCullen.
All right. And she accepted the gifts that she made for her, is that right?
She did.
Okay. I mean, she wasn't upset with you, was she?
No.
She had any reason to be upset with you?
Not at all.
Is there some reason why you were upset with her this morning, Miss Davis?
I was upset.
Out in the hallway?
No, ma'am. No, sir. Kianna walked past. Me and my daughter was sitting out there. She walked past, rolled her eyes, and looked us down and said, "I slapped the shit out of you."
She said that to you?
That's exactly what she said.
She said that to you?
She said,
And you're
either
right.
she talking to me or she talking to my daughter.
And-
We both was sitting there, but that's what she whispered and said. Yes.
Oh, okay. She said that to you.
She said it she was looking at me and my daughter, so who she was talking about slapping, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But that's what she said.
All right. So it wasn't you that made the comment about whipping somebody's ass?
No, it wasn't.
Just like a child. So once again, Ms. Tharp, whenever Ms. Davis would drop the baby off to your house, it would be 7:30, 8 o'clock every morning, is that right?
Pretty much so.
Would it be earlier than that? I mean, like 6 o'clock?
Could have been. We're talking 5.5 years ago.
Well, I'm asking you if you remember. If you don't, that's fine.
Right. Sometimes it may be early, but yeah.
And either Miss Davis would drop the child off, or the baby's father, Kadeem, would drop the baby.
Yes.
And one of the two of them would pick the child up every time.
That's what I always seen. I never seen any of her family members besides her or the baby father pick him or drop him off.
All right. Judge, I don't have anything else, Ms. Tharp.
Anything else for her?
Yes, Judge. Ms. Tharp, you mentioned there's a discussion that you had with Kianna about your granddaughter Kennedy.
Yes.
Okay, tell me about that discussion.
I took Kennedy. Kennedy was throwing up. She had diarrhea. She couldn't walk. So I pulled my car up to the front, and her brother told her out to the car. She had been transferred to Macon. And the next day when I talked to Kianna, I was telling her what was going on with Kennedy. Everything that I said was going on with Kennedy, she was saying the same thing that was going on with Baby Carter, that he was throwing up, he had diarrhea.
Did she ever have any kind of discussion with you about him falling?
No.
She never said anything about Carter was on the bed, he fell back?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about that.
This may have been the same day that he passed, and she said he was on the bed and he fell back and he said, oh,
Did she say anything else?
that she think that he passed when he was in the car with the boyfriend while she was on the phone.
Did she ever blame the boyfriend to you?
No.
Let me ask you a couple more questions about the Friday that you kept informed about. You would have changed him that day?
4 or 5 times.
Changed him every day? That was normal?
Every day.
And you would, I assume because it's a daycare, you would feed the kids, right?
She brought his food, yes.
So, let me ask you this then. Kianna brought his food,
Yes.
and he ate that day.
Yes.
Did he seem to have any problems eating?
No.
No problems eating, bowel movements normal?
Yes.
Did he eat a lot?
He ate? Yes. He ate what she brought.
Did he seem happy that day?
Fine.
So, for all intents and purposes, a normal day for him.
A normal day.
And because you would have changed him, he was still in diapers, right?
Simple up, yes.
Still in pull-ups. Did you see any bruises on him that day?
None.
Any bruises on his genitals, his scrotum, anything like that?
No.
And just to clarify, you hadn't seen him throwing up that day or anything?
No.
Thank you, Ms. Thorpe.
Nothing else, Your Honor.
You can step down. You're free to go or stay as you wish, Ms. Thorpe. Call your next witness, please.
State Call Suzette